Hey, Howard. Can you hear me, Howard? Howard, can you hear me? Ah, okay. I just saw the chat. Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do today is do the definition of republic, which I think you were in that meeting with Bob Cook before, were you not? Did we go over the definition of republic at a meeting that you were at? Let me just ask it to you that way. Did we go over definition of republic at a meeting you were at? Ah, okay. All right. Did we go over the preamble? Okay, send a question. You meant to send a question on the preamble? When did we start doing the Bill of Rights? Oh, yeah, that's a good, yeah, that's a good, a good subject to deal with. That's for sure. Well, if in the next 5 or 7 minutes we don't have anybody else come on, I think that what we'll do is I'll have you give me a call and and we can talk about what you want to talk about that. I was just on a chat with CPG. What's CPG? Oh, okay. Didn't know that. Actually, I have heard of that. Yes, I have heard of that. Yeah, okay. Um, I understand that flag is is sort of open. That they that local folks can come in and go on course and stuff. Okay. All right, I got it about the Ability Congress. Yeah, it depends on which jurisdiction you're in. Texas, like you say, is open. California is not. Did I ask you before what you do, what your business is, what your occupation is? Okay, we have somebody else coming on here. And somebody else coming on here. Hi, Tasha. Hi, Joel.
Hello, John.
Hi. Good to see you, Joel. My goodness, it's been a while.
It has indeed. You look great. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Gee whiz.
How's
And
life up?
Tasha, you want to unmute yourself? I can unmute you here.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go.
Hi.
Hi. And and Arnold, how are you? Arnie is a local fellow here in Grants Pass.
Very good.
So everybody watch your language. Arnold, Arnie, you are muted. I am going to unmute you. I am going to attempt to unmute you. I managed to. All right, I'm going to untab to unmute you now.
Unmute. There.
There you go. There you go,
Yeah.
Arnie. I can hear you now.
Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
And Joel is in Southern California, and Howard, you're in Southern California too, right? Oh, Howard actually doesn't have a microphone, so he's going to text me because, as I recall, he's from Southern California. And Tasha, where are you from?
I'm originally from Boston, but I live in LA.
You live in LA also. Okay, good. All right, so we have the Southern California contingent is meeting with the Southern Oregon contingent.
Y'all.
Yes. Now, is this your first Constitution meeting online, John?
Yes, it is.
All right.
This is gonna be real interesting. All right, Marty Marshall is coming in from Florida. Here she comes. Marty.
Hello.
Hi. And you probably know Joel Morris. You probably know Howard. I know you know Howard. And Arnie here is from is one of my local boys.
Hey, Ernie.
So everybody watch your language.
Oh, I won't get offended, John.
Well, okay. You know, whenever I'm in a meeting, when we go down to the library and I'm in a meeting, you know I watch my language, right?
Absolutely. You're a gentleman.
That's right. All right, we have a nice little tight group here. So the first thing I was going to do, I think I'll just go ahead and start. The first thing I was going to do was, and what I'd like to do to very much begin with, yes, there you go. Everyone can see Marty has the most famous book in the world. There you go. Constitution of the United States Study Guide, written by someone I know.
Somebody in Southern Oregon.
And somebody in Southern Oregon, exactly right. And she's got a citizen hat there too. And Arnie has his Constitution Study Guide. Yay!
Yeah, I forgot to go get mine before it started. Should I run and get it, or can I make it through without today?
You can make it through. You can make it through. Because what we're gonna do, here's the agenda for today. I was going to do, first of all, quite often when people come on here, they have very specific questions that they want to, that, you know, they've heard the Constitution says this, or they've heard that it means that, or whatever like that, and they're just very curious about that. So I want to get those out of the way so that you're not thinking about that while we're doing other things. And we just want to get that stuff out of the way. And then we're going to define republic, because that is, that's what the Constitution sets up, is a Republican form of government. So we're going to have to define what a republic is. And that's probably going to be pretty much all that we do today, because that should take a while. So, all right. So does anybody have any particular questions that we, you know, wondering about, oh, you know, does the Constitution say this, or whatever like that? I know the first time that Arnie came to a meeting, we spent about an hour talking about things that you want to know about. So you should be worn out on that, Marnie. We should have you handled. Joel, no.
I don't, John. I was just trying to think here if there's any particular questions I've got, having read through your book, I guess a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now. I think that cleared up a lot, and then reading your daily emails helps out a lot. So I don't think I have any questions at the moment, no.
Okay, great.
I have a question, John.
Yeah?
I'm sure it probably has nothing to do with being a republic, but
Well,
just for a quick question, just out of curiosity, maybe
Yeah.
it's a short answer if you like.
okay.
If the founding fathers came back and woke up this morning and watched the news, what would they be thinking?
Holy jeez. Look at what they've done with television. My
Time
God,
for a
what do you call
Declaration
this
of
thing?
Independence.
No, I think they would be first. They would be absolutely amazed with, holy cow, here's this thing that you can ride in it, and that you don't need a horse to do that.
They were all briefed. They were all briefed on that.
They were all briefed on it. I think they would probably look at it and they'd go,
Holy moly.
they'd go, well, this is what we were trying to protect against. And that's why that's what we're trying to fix up here. That's what I think they would do. What do you think they'd say?
I think they'd be very pleased that the Constitution still exists after all these years.
Yes, they would be pleased with that. That is for sure.
So that would be the first thing. But then they would continue watching TV and they would be, uh-oh, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they'd be a little concerned that the government wasn't supposed to grow quite that large.
I think that would be of major interest to them. Yes.
Even John Adams would probably say that.
Yes. Yeah. Tasia, you got any burning questions that maybe we can help with here?
No, I'm still at the beginning of the study guide. I'm on Article 1, Section 8, so.
Oh, were those, did you watch those videos? Did they help?
Not yet, but I'm gonna watch them after I read that section.
Okay, good, good. You might want to read it, might want to do it before and
Okay.
follow along with it, because it goes through the clauses of that section, section by section, and then discusses each one.
Okay, good.
You might find that useful that way. And to the rest of everyone else, Josephine County Constitution Study Group has a YouTube channel, and we did have the bright idea that we were going to do a series of our Constitution study groups and record them all and then put them up on YouTube. And we went all the way through the Constitution. We went through the Declaration of Independence. We got it all on tape in its raw form, and then we started going through to edit it, because your illustrious host has a habit of going a lot, and it's real easy to cut that kind of stuff out. So we wanted to edit that out. And then, so we put a number of them up on the YouTube channel, but we got to the end of Article 1 and ran out of money. So I got the rest of the raw footage sitting there, but the first up through Article 1 is ready, is up there. All right, Howard, let me know if you have a microphone now. Howard did not have a microphone before.
What's the name of the YouTube channel again, John?
It's Josephine County, and Josephine as in, Napoleon's girlfriend. Josephine County Constitution Study Group. You just search for that.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Right, yeah. And Howard has said he does not have, his mic does not work. Okay. So that's fine. What we're going to do is, all right, so if nobody has any questions that we want to, that need to be urgently handled, we'll get into the definition of republic, because the Constitution sets up a republic, a Republican form of government. And so we'll just go ahead and we'll do that. And the way that I like to run it when it's live is that we have a document, some piece of paper, and we read from it. And one person will read a sentence, and then the next person will read a sentence, and so on. And we'll get through it that way. And each time, a person will read it, and then we'll make comments on it. We'll have thoughts about it. We'll kind of bat it around a little bit, and then we'll move on to the next section of it. And by the end of it, we will have read the entire document and hopefully understand it better than it was. So we will, so are we good for doing it that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
What document are we going to be reading from?
So the document that we're going to do, I'm going to share my screen. And what it's going to be is it's going to be a section out of my little booklet called
What is a republic?
What is a Republic? The concise definition that you were never taught. And so I'm going to go find it here. Nope, not there. Wait a minute. Hang on. Here it is. Oh, here it is. And I'm going to share this. All right. And can everybody see the what
Yes.
is the republic, the concise definition you were never taught?
Yes.
All right, good. So I just read that part of it. Are any questions about that? No. Okay.
How come we were never taught it?
Oh, now that's an interesting question. Why do you think we were never taught it?
Must be somebody's agenda.
Could be, could be. I will,
It's just forgotten, you know.
yeah, it certainly has been.
Well,
Anybody
where
else?
would we have been taught that?
It's supposed to be taught in school.
I mean, what course? What course?
Civics.
Where would we have been taught? History?
It would be taught in civics.
Civics.
It would be taught,
Civics.
usually.
They don't have it anymore.
I will tell you though, that actually civics, the subject of civics is usually how to be a citizen, which means, you know, the day you pay your taxes, what day you pay your taxes, what day you celebrate our independence, what day you vote, stuff like that. It's things that you do as a citizen. What I would much prefer to teach, and what I try to make this, all of my aim in my Constitution study and so on, is not civics, what you do as a citizen. My subject is how do you govern?
Hmm.
What is good governance, and how do you govern? And I want people to learn the subject of governance, because we are this experiment in self-governance. We have to know how to govern. We don't have to know how to be good little boys and girls. We have to know how to run the thing. And so that's what I try to work on. So in order to do that, we're going to have to know what is a republic. And so I have here the concise definition you were never taught. It's written by that guy. I don't know who that is. And there's copyright. This book is dedicated to you who keep the dream of freedom alive. That's each of you, all of you. All right, well, this is interesting. All right, Joel, you're next on my list. I'd like you to read those first three paragraphs there.
All right. Every republic has a constitution. Some constitutions are written, some are not. Some are followed, some are not. Some are cleverly put together, others are ham-handed. The Constitution of a republic describes the elements and mechanisms that constitute the government. It tells the limitations of the government. Every constitution is a mixture of basic building blocks.
Okay, and with that, that's the first thing we're going to talk about, is what the basic building blocks are. One of the things that kind of bothers me sometimes is people talk about, well, we live in a constitutional republic, but the point is, as it says here, every republic has a constitution. Saying we live in a constitutional republic is like saying water is wet. I mean, that's kind of the definition of what water is. And the fact that it has a constitution is kind of what makes it a republic.
How many republics are there, John?
There are, well, today?
Yeah.
You mean? There's many.
Republic of China?
Yeah, yes, even the Democratic People's Republic of the Congo is a republic.
Do they have a constitution?
And many of them do.
Really?
Yes. And some of them are interesting reading. I read, when I was writing my Constitution study guide, I read the Constitution of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union had a constitution because it was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. It was a bunch of republics. And the line that I particularly like to quote out of it was that Article 42 said there is freedom of religion. You can believe anything you want, but if you wanted to go out and speak in the public square, you had to espouse Marxism. That was the only religion that was allowed to be espoused. But you could believe anything you wanted. You just couldn't talk about it, which is a real interesting.
Was that in the Constitution?
I'm sorry?
Was that in the Constitution?
That was Article 42 of the Soviet of the Constitution of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Yes.
Well, okay. Never knew that.
Yeah. Okay. So, Arnold, you want to read this where we are here?
Where are we? The building blocks?
Yep.
Building blocks are the natural form of the government known to the ancient Greeks. They were reformed by Polybius
Right.
about 2,200 years ago.
Yeah, Polybius was a fellow who, he was a historian and political writer and stuff, a Greek guy, 2,200 years ago. Okay, you go ahead, continue, next one.
Below is a concise definition of republic you were never taught. That'll be interesting. But to understand it, we have to first look at the basic building blocks, the basic forms of government.
Okay. If a form of government is basic or natural, it will apply not only to large social groups like ancient Rome or the United States of America, but it will also apply to everyday societies. It would apply to a family, a football team, for instance. And after the basic forms are defined, then will come the definition of republic. So, because first we have to define what are the basic forms of government. Because a republic is composed of, as it says up here, a republic is it's a mixture of basic building blocks. And the basic building blocks are the basic forms. So we're going to find the basic forms. And then we'll come to the definition of what a republic is. And then in the book, we won't do this here, but in this book, it gives a brief look at the history of and the concept of the word republic.
But John, where did all this originate from?
Well, that's where we're going. That's what's at the end of the book. Arnold, you have to buy the book and read it if you know that.
I have to read it all the way to the end?
All the way to the damn end. Exactly right. It's about I think 15, 20 pages, something like that.
All right. I guess I'll figure it out.
Yeah. No. Well, you're going to get the basics right here. We're going to do this. We're going to get the basics right here. All right. There's the contents. And see, we're going to do these two today. Boom. All right. As you can see, the PDF has links in it. All right, we're going to do basic forms of government. Marty, I'm going to scroll down as we do this, and you go ahead and just read what you see there.
Okay, basic forms of government: aristocracy,
And
monarchy.
And you can see aristocracy. We have like a family there. Monarchy, you have like a football coach there.
Yeah. Democracy,
And there you go. A mob.
a mob.
All right, let's just start
Can,
with
can you hear me now? This is Howard.
Hey, Howard. Hi,
Hey,
Howard.
Howard.
Whoa.
Hi.
Somehow I found my voice.
Woo!
Good. All right. Marty, you were doing aristocracy. Let's do aristocracy.
Aristocracy, the form of government that most of us first become aware of. Most families are aristocracies. The dictionary definition is government by the citizens deemed to be best qualified to lead. Parents, for one. The best could be those with the most education, the elders of the tribe, the most money, or the best hunters. The best are always a minority. The minority of the best will, you have to scroll up, John.
Yep.
The minority of the best will take care of the others, the majority who are less able. Sorry.
That's all right.
The advantage is that everyone is cared for. The disadvantage is that those in power could come to care only for themselves. To maintain an aristocracy, those who would be in power must disable everyone else. From the Greek aristo, the best, and krasi, strength or power. It is ruled by a minority.
This is one of the basic forms of government. And there are some social groups, like for instance, a family, in which an aristocracy is the best form of government for it. Because if you have like this particular group right here, you have 2 adults, 4 kids, and if you had a a democratic vote for what to have for breakfast, you would be eating ice cream every morning, which is not always healthy. So you have to have somebody who's better able to take care of themselves, be able to kind of guide everybody else. So that's what an aristocracy is. Any comments or thoughts or additions to that?
I mean, you see that a lot in a lot of groups. A lot of churches are run that way. You'll have a board of deacons.
Yep.
That runs a church or social clubs, that kind of thing. It's really very common in society.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it absolutely is. And it's mostly because those people who I think it's most people or most groups, there are a few people who really want to take responsibility for it and do it, and the rest of them are just kind of following along.
Yeah.
And so the ones that want to take responsibility for it are the ones who become the quote aristocracy. All right.
Hey, John, hold it right there, John.
What's that, sir?
Yeah, hold it. Go right to the very bottom. Stop. Okay, ask her the question. It's C-R-A-C-Y.
Yeah, crazy or crassy.
Yeah.
That comes from the Greek something or other, which means power or strength.
Rule by.
Shouldn't that be crazy?
Arnold, I am not going to answer that one. Not going to answer it. All right. Next one. Oh yeah. Well, then when you're reading the book, we look at look around, groups around you, perhaps your neighborhood garden club, so on and so forth. Are you noticing any aristocracies? And actually, Joel had already kind of pointed that out to us. The next one is a monarchy. And Tasha, would you like to read that?
Sure. Monarchy, rule by one person.
All right, and I'm going to move this up for you. There we go.
The essence of monarchy is one ruler, whether a football coach, a king, or a ship captain. It works well in a society with a clear purpose, such as a sports team. Everyone wants to beat the team from the other town. Winning a war is best done by a single leader, directing everyone in a single plan to defeat the enemy. The disadvantage is that the monarch could come to direct actions only for his own advantage rather than the purpose of the group. The man who would be king must find a common purpose for everyone to get behind. The defeat of an enemy is an easy target. The word comes from the Greek mono, only or single, and archi, ruler.
And
It is rule by a single person.
right. So you have rule by a minority, which is an aristocracy, or rule by one person, which is a monarchy. Can anybody think of any other examples of monarchies in life?
A lot of companies are that way. There's a single owner who controls everything. You could say a CEO is a monarch.
Yeah, I was just watching a little video about Elon Musk.
Mm.
Well, how about a male-dominated family?
You could have a male-dominated family, although all of the families that I know of, the woman has quite a bit to say.
Yeah, but there are exceptions.
Yeah,
Yes, of course there are exceptions. There are exceptions to everything. Yes, Tasha, were you going to say something?
No,
Okay. All right, and we look at and again this was a look around and see if there's any monarchies in your area. And the last one down here, Howard, is a democracy. And so go ahead and read that.
Well, you know what? I actually hunted around and I think I found what I need to read. Uh,
Oh,
Democracy is, quote, government by the people, unquote, also called, quote, majority rule, unquote.
yep.
A democracy will work when each person is able to take care of himself and also right any wrong he does to others.
Yep.
Such a person's voice should be heard. To have every voice heard was the hope of Pericles, the general and statesman who started the golden age of Greece. It has the defining factor of Western civilization ever since. It has been the defining factor of Western civilization ever since. The disadvantage is that very few are able enough to right every wrong, and the majority is always average. That's interesting. Democracy too often means mediocrity. Yes. Those who want a working democracy will make those around them more able. From the Greek demo, people, and krasi, strength or power. Democracy. Well, that's all I have on the page I have.
Okay, and the last line is ruled by the many. Or so you have one form of government is ruled by a minority. This one is a rule by a majority, and then you also have a rule by one person. These are the basic building blocks. Can anyone think of a group that is run by majority rule?
Maybe a commune or
It could be a commune, yes.
A
Could
board?
be, could be.
How about a board? Like a
What
board
was
of
that?
governors? Like board of governors, board?
Yeah, the board runs, yes, because the board will have will have a majority rule within themselves. The example that immediately comes to my mind is me and my buddies hanging out on the corner, and somebody says, "Hey, you want to go do this, or you want to go do that? Let's go down and shoot some pool. Let's go shoot pool." And everybody kind of votes. They say, "Yeah, I'd like to go shoot pool." And if most of the people would like to go shoot pool, they go shoot pool. And it's not one person decided for everybody else, we're going to go do this, or even a minority. It's like it was a majority rule. The best case, of course, is those who want to go shoot pool do, and those who don't. So, but anyway, that's a democracy. It's the rule of the people. It's the rule by the many. All right, so we're pretty clear on what those three forms of government are?
Well, I'm never clear on the difference between a republic and a democracy.
Well, that's because we're going to do a republic right now.
Okay.
But that's the three basic building blocks. For instance, in an army unit, you do not have a democracy. In a family, you do not generally have a democracy. But now we'll move on, if that's all right. You good with this, Tasha?
Yep.
Okie doke. All right, so again, this was the look around and see if you can see any democracies in your area. All right, now we're gonna do what is a republic, and I think we're going back up to Joel. So let's just read what you see on the screen there, Joel.
All right. What is a republic? As natural as rain, a group of people will choose to be governed by monarchy, an aristocracy, or a democracy. If most of the people in a group cannot take care of themselves, then those who can take care of them will, and an aristocracy will arise, whether anyone wants it or not. Similarly, if everyone in the group is headed in the same direction, a monarchy will naturally arise. The group can't help it. The people will choose someone to lead them.
It is just natural. It is, if you are on a ship and you want to get to the shore, you are going to choose the person who is the best seaman, and you're going to say, "Tell us what to do so we can get to the shore." And you have immediately formed a monarchy. and the captain of the ship is the monarch. And if he tells you if he tells you raise the sail, you raise the sail. If he tells you to bail out the bail the water out of the hull, you bail the water out, because everyone has the same purpose. They're going in the same direction, so they want to. So they kind of elect or select the person who is best able to get them there, and then they follow his lead, whatever he says to do. Same thing is true with an aristocracy. If you have a group of people that most of the people can't take care of themselves, they're going to look to those who can take care of them and say, take care of me, please. And then those who can take care of them will. Now, each one of those, well, I think we'll move on to the next thing here. Okay, I'll tell you, we're on this paragraph here. Arnold, why don't you just read that one paragraph right there?
Finally, if everyone in a group can take care of himself and also watch out for the well-being of others, they will form a democracy. It will arise without anyone suggesting it. It just happens.
It just happens. And this is the point. These are natural forms of government. You don't have to do anything to make them happen. They just happen because it's the way people congregate. It's the way that it's the way that they move. It's how they live. It's how they can stay alive. Democracy is one of the natural forms of government. And that's the first thing to know, Arnold. When you ask what's the difference between Republican and democracy, the first thing to know is that democracy is a natural form of government. It will come about without anybody saying that it should be that way. If the social structure is correct, or if the social structure is conducive to it, it will just happen.
Has that ever happened?
I'm sure it does. It does all the time in your daily life. The guys on the street corner who are going to decide to go play pool, they vote and they go. Happens all the time. They form and then they unform, and they form and it's happening all the time.
But has it ever happened to a government?
Probably so. Yes, I would say it probably has. I don't know that it's necessarily. I mean, even the Athenians who came up with they were the inventors of democracy and all that. They actually, their form of government, they had a republic, which we'll get to in a minute. But because we're defining what a republic is. But if there's a group of people that it always requires. I mean, I know. It's pretty well known, or pretty, the New England town meetings that they would have. They got a small community, and everybody's taking care of themselves. And when they decide they want to make a road or something, they get together and then they vote whether or not we're going to put a road in there, and that sort of thing. The town hall meetings in old New England were certainly that way.
Who makes the call?
It's a vote of the group. What do you mean, who makes the call? I don't understand.
Well, suppose somebody has to make a decision to go left or right. Who makes the call to go left? Or does everybody just vote on it?
Everybody just votes on it.
And the
I mean,
majority.
they will get together. Somebody will say, "Hey, we need a road," and I can't spend my time away from my fields and spend all my time making this road. We need to decide whether or not we're all going to have this road here or not. And so then somebody takes responsibility enough to call together a meeting and says, let's have a meeting. So folks then gather and have a meeting, and then they decide whether or not they're going to have the road. And the way they decide is with the majority vote.
Majority vote, okay.
Yeah, it's majority vote. All right. Coming along with the next thing. Why don't you just give me the next paragraph, Marty?
The problem with each of the natural forms of government is that people run it. People can change from day to day. Any whim of the king or the bureaucrats or the mob can take everything away from you. We need something more stable, something to count on, no matter how often the rulers change.
Good. And that's the problem with each of these forms of government, is that each has its evil twin brother. You have the democracy in which everyone decides, oh, we're going to build a road here. And you have its evil twin brother in which the majority decide that guy has too much money, we're going to take it away from him. And that's a mob rule. You have a monarch, which is the ship captain. The ship captain is the one that's going to get us to shore. And we all agree that he's going to get us to shore, and so we're going to follow him. Except we find out he's not going to the shore that we want to go to. He's going to someplace that he wants to go to. And now we're going to have a revolution. So that's the evil twin brother of a monarchy, which is called tyranny. Aristocracy also has its evil twin brother, in which the adults, or the people who can take care of others, aren't taking care of others. They're taking care of themselves, but disguising it as taking care of others. So each form of government has its evil twin brother. And that's the problem, because the natural form of government is run by people. And when it's run by people, they can change. And now they're doing it for selfish motives instead of motives for the help of everyone. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Tasha, give me these next two paragraphs.
Okay. About 2,500 years ago, the Roman monarchy faced this very problem. The monarch had been selected by tribes that had joined together rather than destroy each other. The monarchy was a government of the tribes, a thing of the tribes. Romans demanded a new government based on law rather than the whim of the ruler. They formed a new government based on the people rather than the tribes. They called their new government Res Publica, the people's thing, what we call republic today.
Right, exactly. Rather than being a monarchy that was a thing of the tribes, it became a thing of the people. That was the people's thing, and what we call republic today. Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, give me, Howard, just give me the first paragraph here.
Okay. The new government had elements of monarchy in it. When a single ruler was needed, it would be there. It also had aristocratic and democratic, quote, branches, unquote, when those are needed. Because it is made up of other forms, it is called a, quote, mixed, unquote, government. A republic is a mixed government.
And that is the first thing to know about how to distinguish between a democracy and a republic. Is a democracy is a natural form of government. It is its own thing. A republic is a mixed government it's got a little bit of monarchy in it. It's got a little bit of aristocracy in it. It's got a little bit of a democratic branch in it as well. It's got a little bit of all of it, all mixed. They are mixed together. Make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Any question?
Yeah, I've got a question, John.
Okay.
Mix. How many mixes can you have?
As many as you can imagine.
Really?
Yep, as many
How does
as
that
you
work?
can imagine. And that's why the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics can be called a republic, because they had some piece of democracy in it, some piece of aristocracy in it, and some piece of Uncle Joe Stalin in it. And it was a little bit of each of them. They can be called a republic, but they were very much aimed at the monarchy part of it. The monarchy part of it was more important than any of the rest of it. You can have any mixture of these three things, and it will still be called a republic.
So you're talking about three, but at some point, it has to be too many.
No, it's these three, it's a mixture of the three basic forms. And the mixture can be in any proportion, a little bit of this and a lot of that, and a little bit of the middle one, or a lot of this one and a little this one. It can
Okay.
be there, so there can be a multitude of republics, but they all of them have these three pieces in it in different amounts. However, the important part is, actually, Tasha, I'd love to have you read this next paragraph.
The genius.
Yeah,
The genius of a mixed government is to construct it in such a way that no branch can do its job without the other branches also doing theirs. That way, no branch becomes so powerful that a whim of a ruler gains too much power. Each branch has to work with the others, but at the same time, not be ruled by any other.
and this is what the guys at the Constitutional Convention were tearing their hair out about. This is anybody who wants to form any kind of a government has to be, you got to do this delicate balance of, well, you're gonna have the monarchical part is going to take care of this, but it can be overruled by this, but then we can't have this be too strong that it always overrules it. We have to have the other one be able to come in, and you have to be able to have them going back and forth, and all the pieces fit together in such a way that that no branch becomes, as it says here, no branch becomes so powerful that the whim of a ruler can gain too much power and just take over all of the rest of it.
What happens if one of the branches refuses to work with the other branches?
Well, hopefully they have enough power given to them in the Constitution, in the mixture, that they can force it to work with them.
How does that work?
And that's what the genius is about. Arnold, you have just guessed it. That is the genius.
That's what we'll find out in the Constitution study part, right?
And that's what the Constitution study part is about. Exactly right. Exactly right. All right. Joel, just do the next paragraph.
A republic is not natural.
Right.
It is constructed. It is man-made. The constant struggle in a republic is to not decay into one of the natural forms.
This is which, if somebody asks you, what's the difference between a republic and a democracy? A democracy is natural. It's a natural form of government. If the people, if the society, if the desires of the people and so on, and the abilities of the people warrant it, a democracy will just form naturally. It will occur. However, a republic is not natural. It is constructed. It's man-made. It has to be, the genius has to go into putting it together. And then finally, the constant struggle in a republic is to make sure that it does not decay back into one of these other things, because it takes effort to hold the thing together. It has to constantly be held together. You have to have bolts and nuts in place, and a mechanic who goes in there and oils it, and a mechanic who goes in there and oils it, and so on all the time, so that it doesn't fall apart into its constituent pieces. Any other comments on that? Okay, all right. All right, Arnold, you're up for the next line.
People's thing, to serve the people requires constant attention from the people.
That's the constant struggle. It's the people have to keep it together. It's like you cannot expect the machine to fix itself. You have to have somebody outside of it who's making sure the bolts are tightened up, who's making sure that it's holding together, to making sure that it's oiled, to making sure that it's got fuel, to making sure that it all works the way it's supposed to. What's inside of it can't do it. And I've had people complain to me. They say, well, we don't like the Constitution because it's not enforceable. That's correct. It's not enforceable within itself, because just in the same way that you can't expect your car to repair itself all the time either. You have to have attention from outside into it, keeping it there and keeping it from decaying into its and rusting and stuff like that. So in this case, it's the people who enforce it. So people who say it's not enforceable, yes, it's not enforceable within itself. The only thing that does enforce it is the people, and it requires constant attention from us to keep it together. And any comments on that?
Yeah, I like that. I like the way you explained it, but I'm not sure how it really happened.
Well, that's because you and I have to do it. That's how it happens. And that's why when it doesn't happen, because we didn't do it.
You mean as a population?
Yeah, you and me, Arnold, you and me. And once in a while, we let Marty in on that too.
Thank you.
So, okay, what can I as a citizen do? This is Howard speaking. We've had this onslaught from the media for jolly well how many months now, peddling what I personally consider is a fabricated crisis, no worse than the common flu.
Howard.
Yep.
That's what this group and the meetings that we're going to have, that's what it's about, is what can you do about it?
Okay,
That is what this is
do about it?
That is what this is about. Now, I know that you have spoken and you've written things and stuff like that, expressing your point of view. And that certainly is that is the first thing that you can do about it. That is probably one of the most important things you can do about it, so that other people have to take a look at it and say, oh, that's a possibility, or maybe it's so, or whatever like that. So I'm not, but I'm not gonna sit here now and try to list off all the things that you can do, because first of all, that's what this whole thing is about. That's why we're studying this. That's why we're going through this, because also as we go through it, there's going to be something you're going to see in, Article 1, Section 7, Clause 4 or something, and you're going to go, oh my God, that's something I can do. Well, and I wouldn't have thought of that. It's going to have to come from you.
Okay, let me quickly just say, I can write letters. I'm probably going to have to go down to the damned city council meetings downtown Los Angeles. I have actually gone to those things 2 or 3 times, mostly about zoning issues. And every time they ruled against me and my neighbors. So what can I do to compensate against the media madness?
Well, my answer is still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're doing. That's what we're learning here. And when we go through this, you will get ideas that I can't give you, because the only way you can get the idea is when you get it yourself. Because you know your situation better than I do. I can't possibly tell you what you should do.
Okay, so this is a study cycle. It's a hatting cycle.
That's what we're doing. That's what
okay.
we're doing.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, I'm not. You can go out and be with 10,000 other people and walk in the streets if you like. You can do that. Whether or not it'll be effective, I don't know. But I'll tell you, when we're doing this, you're going to get ideas about what you can do.
On May Day, to protest the government shutdown, I went with my sign down to the City Hall building.
Uh-huh.
and there were a lot of other people there. This is not these crazy Antifa
Yeah, I know.
demonstrators. This was everybody was polite to everybody. The police were extremely professional, and I complimented them on my way home as I
Good.
walked out. So
Good. Which is probably one of the best things you could do, is compliment them when they do the job right.
thanks.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing that you can do. And yeah, and we're going to, as we go through this, I'm going to expect that you're going to be saying, oh, I could do something like that. I could do this, or I could do that, or I can see how that works and how this could be helpful.
Yes. Whenever I'm stopped by the police, my opening is, good morning, afternoon, officer. How can I be of assistance to you today?
Yeah, that's
I
good.
almost never get tickets.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yep.
All right. The people's thing, to serve people requires constant attention from the people. And I'm going to skip over Marty. I'm going to go to Tasha because I love to hear you read, Tasha. Give me the last two paragraphs.
Thank you. Heed the famous words of Benjamin Franklin. Directly after the Constitutional Convention, the story goes, Mrs. Elizabeth Powell anxiously asked Franklin, well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy? A republic, answered Franklin, if you can keep it.
And that's the point, is that it is our job to keep the republic. And it goes back up to this right here. A republic is not natural, it's constructed. The constant struggle is to make sure that it does not decay, and that's exactly what Franklin was talking about right here. Is if we don't watch it, if we don't keep it, it will decay into one of the natural forms. All right, so that was as far as I was intending on going today. Anybody have any comments or thoughts? Or
It was great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
you're very welcome. We'll do this again next Sunday at 4 o'clock, and it will be. It's going to be interesting to see how we do with this. Yes.
I'm sorry, John. What is the book? I found all your books except I think the one you're reading out of. I have a couple of printouts here, but what's the name of the book that we are using?
Yeah, the name of this book is
It is a republic.
What is a Republic? The concise definition you were never taught. It's only available on Amazon. And people go, why are you on Amazon? Because they're a real easy platform to me to get on and I'm just that lazy.
Okay.
Or you could send John $20 and he'll send you a copy.
That's true. That's true. Marty, I'm now going to publicly thank Marty.
Oh, no.
Well, as being one of the few people. There was a time back a few years ago where I said, tell you what, anybody who wants to be in the Everything Free club, the John Chambers Everything Free Club, all you got to do is send me $20 a month on, PayPal or whatever. And then anytime I come out with a new book, I'll send you a copy of it for free. So everything that I write, Marty gets a copy of. And right now, by the way, because there was a fellow that was a local fellow here, asked me. I was thinking about it, and he suggested it, and I said, okay, now I have to do it. I'm writing a book right now called COVID-19 and the Constitution.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
Which is going to go through a little kind of a history of what happened, and it is going to hit hard on the things that were said that were not true, which caused people to do certain things.
Yep.
And gave us the mess that we're in.
Yep.
Or the mess that we got in at any rate. So anyway, That's a book that's going to come out sometime.
John, don't
Marty-
forget.
And
John,
Marty's
don't-
going to get a copy of it for free.
And John, don't forget, I proofread.
Yes, and Marty also does proofread for me. That's correct. That's correct.
Hmm.
And one thing it's going to be is actually what this fellow wanted me to do is he wanted me to take all of the emails that I've done over the last 2 months, or many of the emails that I've done over the last 2 months having to do with COVID-19 and the things that were happening and stuff like that, and basically put them together in a book. So I've got all of those in a book, and now I'm going to intersperse it with this is what was happening at this time. And this was what was on the news, and this is what this study said, and this, and that kind of stuff, and intersperse it in there. So it gives a little
Cool.
context to what it was and stuff.
Excellent.
So
This is Howard. I would be interested in both of those, please.
both of those?
Yeah, your
Oh.
emails. I have my sources, and I certainly could augment what I have already.
Both of what? I don't quite.
Your emails that you've written about COVID in the last 2 months.
They're
And
daily
all-
ones.
No,
and
those are the daily emails. You should have them.
Okay. All right. I'll look in my email and see what I
Okay.
see.
Yes, I can put them all together and send them to you, but I'm writing a
Well,
book.
let me look first. So,
Yeah,
because
okay,
you
good.
got other stuff to do on your plate.
All right. I have, I see. All right. Oh. Very good. Tasha, thank you very much for coming. I think that's the end of it. And so
Thank you.
we'll talk to you all later. We'll see you in a week. And I know where you live, so you better show up.
Great, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All
John.
right.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, John. That was very nice. Well
All
done.
right, thank you, guys.
Bye.
See you all
Bye-bye.
later.
Appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right. Adios.
Adios.
Is leave the meeting.
That was nice.